Hey guys, welcome to today's video where we're going to be discussing the New Orleans Saints offense and what to expect from them in 2020. Before we get started, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow, and I hope you enjoy the video. So before we get started on talking about what the Saints offense is going to look like in 2020, I just want to go over what they did in 2019. For starters, they were 9th in total yards, 7th in passing yards, and 17th in rushing yards, but they were 3rd in points. This shows they were super efficient and they were super high-powered. The Saints love to throw the football. They have loved to for years, especially with Drew Brees, but the plan for success in 2020 might come from the running game. They obviously have Alvin Kamara back there, and they also have Latavius Murray. Both of them could run the football, and look for them to really utilize Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara in the run game. Plus, Brees gets the ball out quickly, and there's no better receiver in the NFL than Michael Thomas. So really look for the Saints to game plan around giving the ball to Alvin Kamara, either giving him handoffs in the run game or setting up screens for him, and just look for them to target Michael Thomas a lot in the passing game. Thomas last season broke the NFL record for single-season receptions, and although it's unlikely that he'll do it again in 2020, he's still one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. Now, let's talk about the players on this roster. Let's start at the quarterback position, and yes, I'm going to talk about more than Drew Brees. Let's start with Drew Brees, though. Last season, he missed a few games, but the 13-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro member, and Super Bowl champion is back at it again for 2020. Last season, as I said, Brees missed a couple of games, but what he was able to do was in 11 games last season, he threw just shy of 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Really, I want to focus on the 27 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. It shows that he's super accurate. Plus, his 74.3% completion percentage was the highest in the NFL, and he's had 6 times in his career he has had the highest completion percentage in the NFL. Plus, don't forget that Brees is one of the older quarterbacks in the NFL, and the future Hall of Famer has a ton of experience, and he is the driving factor for this New Orleans offense. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in NFL history. So Drew Brees is the heart and soul of this offense. If he succeeds and he gets that game going, then this offense succeeds. I also want to talk about the backup, Jameis Winston. Last season, obviously, Winston played for the Bucs, threw a ton of interceptions, threw a ton of touchdowns, and now he's going to sit behind Drew Brees and learn from Brees in 2020. If Brees gets injured, the Saints have a really good backup quarterback who they can depend on to have big plays to Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, as Winston is a former first-rounder. He's been in the league for a while, and he's a solid quarterback other than his interception problems. But the guy I really want to talk about is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is much more than a quarterback. He's utilized in the run game, he's utilized out wide, and he's also utilized sometimes in the special teams game. He's all over the field. Last season, he had 27 rushing attempts for 156 rushing yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's all over the field. He's very fun to watch, and look for the Saints to utilize him as a kind of all-around weapon going into 2020. Now let's focus on the run game. I said the run game could be a really big focal point to this New Orleans Saints offense in 2020, and especially it takes pressure off Drew Brees. Alvin Kamara is one of the league's best running backs, and although he did struggle last year, he is a 3-time Pro Bowler, and even last year he still put up good numbers. He had 171 rushing attempts for 797 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns in 14 games. He missed 2 games, and in those 2 games, Latavius Murray played really well, but I'll get to Latavius Murray in a second. But the thing is, Alvin Kamara is much more than just a downhill runner. He's a great pass catcher. In his 3 years in the NFL, Kamara has had 81 catches each season. I know, it's really unbelievable. And although he did see a dip in production last year, catching the football out of the backfield, he still had 533 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. So look for Kamara to be utilized a lot in the passing game as well as in the running game. They do like to set up a lot of screens for him to get him open and get him into open space. As I said, they also have Latavius Murray. Murray really proved that he can be a solid running back. Yes, he won't get the majority of carries, but last year he had 146 rushing attempts for 637 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. Not to mention, in the 2 games that Kamara missed, Murray was excellent. He rushed for over 100 yards both games and really proved that he is a dominant running back. Also, they added Ty Montgomery. I don't want to spend too much time on Ty Montgomery, but the former Packers running back has proved pretty solid in the past, and he could be another out of the backfield passing weapon that the Saints could utilize in their offense. But now I want to talk about the wide receivers. Obviously, that is where Michael Thomas is, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro member, and 2019's Offensive Player of the Year. So for starters, as I said, Michael Thomas broke the NFL record for single season catches in 2019. He had 149 catches for 1,700 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's had 9 touchdowns 3 out of the 4 years he's played in the NFL. The only year he hasn't had 9 touchdowns was in 2017, where he had 5 touchdowns. He has 32 touchdowns in 4 years of playing in the NFL, and last year he was dominant. He didn't miss a single game, and he was all over the field, making catches look easy and proving that he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Look for Brees and the Saints offense to really game plan and scheme around him, and look for him to be targeted a lot. I don't think he'll have 149 catches next season, especially because they brought in Emmanuel Sanders, but he's still going to probably haul in at least 120, 110 catches in 2020. Now moving on to Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders was a great pickup. The 33-year-old is a veteran wide receiver who has proved to be really, really solid in the past. Last year, he played for Denver as well as San Francisco, and he amassed over 860 receiving yards for 4 receiving touchdowns. He's a former Super Bowl winner. He knows what it takes to get it done in the playoffs. Obviously, that's something the Saints have struggled with in the past few years, but he's been with really good quarterbacks in the past. He's been with Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. He's obviously been with Peyton Manning in Denver, and he's a good set of hands that is reliable and trusty that Drew Brees can rely on. The big thing with the Saints team is that they haven't really had any wide receiving depth in the past, and getting Emmanuel Sanders means that there is a clear number 2 guy behind Michael Thomas. Now let's move on to the number 3 receiver. That's probably going to be Tre'Quan Smith. Tre'Quan Smith is your average wide receiver. I mean, he had 18 catches for 234 yards last year in 11 games, and he's not going to blow by you, but he's a solid guy nonetheless that is a vital part of that Saints passing attack when they go 3 receivers. He's going to be the 3rd receiver in most cases. But what I really want to talk about are the tight ends on the roster. Headlined by Jared Cook, the 2-time Pro Bowl tight end. Last year was his first year in New Orleans, and he was a Pro Bowler last season. In 2019, he had 43 catches for 705 yards and 9 touchdowns in 14 games. Although those numbers were a dip from his 2018 self, he was pretty solid in New Orleans, and he was the clear number 2 target in the passing game last season. Although I think he'll see a dip in production with Emmanuel Sanders coming in, he's still a good tight end that can be relied on in the passing game. And although he's a little bit on the older side, he is 33, I think that he will still be a good part of this passing attack there in New Orleans. But they also have a lot of depth at the tight end position. They obviously have Josh Hill. He's been in New Orleans for a while. He's 30 years old, a little bit older. But last year, he had 25 catches for 226 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's a good role player. But the guy I really want to talk about is the youngster Adam Trautman. Trautman was electric at Dayton last year. He had 70 catches for 916 receiving yards and 14 receiving touchdowns. I believe he was a 3rd-round pick in the draft, and the Saints are really high on him. So look for Trautman to be the tight end of the future. He's probably going to struggle next year. Young tight ends typically struggle in their first year in the NFL because blocking assignments can be difficult moving from the college to the pro level. But look for Trautman to be well-groomed. I mean, he's in a good tight end room with guys like Jared Cook and Josh Hill, and I think Trautman can really thrive in the NFL. Now let's move to the offensive line. The Saints' offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the league, headlined by Terron Armstead. Armstead played 935 snaps last season and gave up 0 sacks. Yes, he did miss a little bit of time, but still he played in, he played in 15 games last season, so he's still a healthy guy. But in the past, he has struggled with injury. In 2018 and in 2017, he only played in 10 games, and in 2016, he only played in 7 games. If he can stay on the field, though, like he did last season, only missing 1 game, he can be a really solid player at the left tackle position. Plus, they have Andrus Peat. Peat really missed time last year, but when healthy, is a solid left guard for that Saints offensive line. In 2019, as I said, he missed a few games, missed 6 games, only played in 10 games, but still ended up making a Pro Bowl. And in 2018, he also made a Pro Bowl. So he's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a veteran guy, and he is a reliable person on that O-line. At the center position, they're probably going to have Erik McCoy. McCoy was super solid last year. He had over 1,000 snaps, was super healthy, and he only gave up 1 sack, which is really solid for Erik McCoy. He's a younger guy, but he's going to be that center there in New Orleans, and he's going to be a good player on that Saints offensive line. Now at the right guard position is a guy I'm super excited about. The Saints lost Larry Warford in the offseason. They cut him. He was making a lot of money, and they didn't want to pay him due to his production. He wasn't performing to his usual self. So they brought in Cesar Ruiz, the center or interior offensive lineman from Michigan. At Michigan, Ruiz was a really solid offensive lineman. He was one of the better offensive linemen, especially the better interior offensive lineman in this draft class. And Ruiz was picked in the first round. A lot of guys had him picked in the second round. He's not going to blow by you based on physicality. He's not more physical than guys, but he's a super solid interior offensive lineman, and he could be the center of the future or the right guard of the future. At the right tackle position is the best right tackle in the NFL in Ryam Ramcyzk. Last season, he played over 1,000 snaps, didn't give up a sack. So they have great bookends in Ryam Ramcyzk and Terron Armstead to keep Drew Brees upright. And the interior offensive line is really solid too, with guys like Andrus Peat, Erik McCoy, as well as Cesar Ruiz. So overall, I love this offensive line. I love, obviously, the quarterback room with Drew Brees, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill. I mean, if Drew Brees goes down with injury like he did last year, Jameis Winston is a legit NFL quarterback that can take the reins over from him. Also, I mean, they have a great running back room with guys like Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, and Ty Montgomery, who could be a little bit of a surprise impact player for the Saints offense in 2020. Obviously, the wide receivers are some of the NFL's best. I mean, Michael Thomas is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. At least he played like it in 2019. And they added Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason to really take some of the load off Thomas and give Drew Brees another guy to throw to in the passing game. Overall, I think the Saints offense is going to be a top 3 offense in the NFL in 2020. It's up there with teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens, as well as the Cowboys. I mean, it's one of the better offenses in the league, and there's without a doubt they're going to be a top offense in 2020. Sean Payton is a great offensive coach, and Drew Brees is one of the better players of all time who can lead this offense because he still plays at a really high level, even at his older age. So look for this Saints squad to be really good, especially on the offensive side of the football, as they try to get back to the playoffs in 2020, as in the past few years, they have been knocked out twice by the Vikings and once by the Rams. And after all, I mean, Drew Brees' career is coming to an end, and they probably do want to win another Super Bowl while he's still around. So watch out, Saints fans, for this offense in 2020. I think it could be a top 3 offense, and get excited. Now that you've reached the end of my video, I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe as it helps my channel out, and check out my other videos on my channel. Also, you can follow my Instagram, the link is in the description down below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, see ya.